Resting in the space behind thought begins with something very simple. You notice that you are here. You feel yourself breathing. You do not have to do anything special. You do not have to become someone different. Just be aware that right now there is this moment. Perhaps you notice sounds in the room. A faint noise in the distance. The sensation of your body sitting or lying down. You are not trying to change anything. You are simply allowing what is already here to be as it is. You may notice that thoughts continue to move. They comment, they judge, they compare, they go into past and future. And yet, something else is also here. There is a quiet noticing of these thoughts, a simple awareness in which they appear and disappear. You do not have to stop thinking. You do not have to push thoughts away. You only begin to see that you are not the movement of thought itself. You can sense that there is a space around each thought, a space in which the thought comes and leaves. If you rest as that space, even for a moment, you begin to feel a subtle relief. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness in which thoughts arise. Let this be sensed not as an idea, but as an immediate fact. As you sit here, perhaps a thought appears. I am doing this right. I am doing this wrong. This is peaceful. This is boring. See if you can notice that each of these is only a movement in the mind. They appear. They linger for a short while. Then they fade. What does not fade is the aware presence that knows them. This aware presence has no form. You cannot see it as an object, you cannot hold it, but you can sense it as the simple fact of being here. I am. Before the mind says, I am this, or I am that, there is just the quiet sense of existence, of being. Your life situation, with all its details, is not your deepest life. Your life situation is the story, the unfolding circumstances, the roles you play. Your life at the deepest level is this presence of being, this stillness in which all situations come and go. You may find it helpful to feel your body from within, not as an image in your head, but as a field of subtle aliveness. Begin with your hands. Can you feel the inner energy in your hands without moving them? A gentle tingling, warmth, subtle vibration. Stay with that for a few moments. No need to describe it, just sense it. Then include your arms, your feet, your legs. Let awareness fill the entire inner body. This brings attention out of the constant stream of thought and into the living present. Thought may still arise, but it is no longer the only thing you know. There is now a deeper dimension of stillness beneath it. The ego, the sense of me built by thought, lives in stories. It says, this is me, this is my past, this is my future, this is what I want, this is what I fear. The ego is always comparing. Me and you, mine and yours, better and worse. It seeks to be right. It seeks to be in control. It seeks validation through others' opinions. When something matches its idea, it feels briefly satisfied. When something does not match, it feels threatened. In this way, the ego's world is constantly unstable. Perhaps you can notice how the sense of me often tightens around certain thoughts. They should not have done that. I need them to understand me. If this doesn't happen, I will not be okay. When these thoughts appear, the body often contracts. The breath may become shallow, the muscles tense, the ego is defending its story. But notice, even this is seen. You can become aware of the sense of me rising. You can feel the contraction in the body. You can see the narrative unfolding. The moment it is seen, a small space opens. In that space there is already some freedom. True freedom does not begin when all outer conditions are perfect. It begins the moment you notice that you are not the mental voice describing your life. You are the aware space in which that voice appears. When you rest as this space, the ego's demands lose some of their absolute power. They may still arise, they may still speak loudly, but you begin to sense that they are not who you are. Life always unfolds in this one moment. The mind says later, tomorrow, when things change, or it returns to before, back then, when it was different. But your actual life is never in those mental images. It is always here, now. Notice now that everything you experience is appearing in this moment. Sensations, sounds, thoughts, emotions. They come and go in the open field of awareness that is always now. The past is a thought arising now. The future is a thought arising now. When you recognize this, the mind loses some of its grip on you. You do not have to push away thoughts of past or future. You simply see them for what they are. Images and words arising in the present awareness. As you rest in this awareness, a deeper stillness begins to show itself. It does not depend on the content of this moment. Sometimes the content is pleasant, sometimes it is unpleasant. Yet the background of being remains unchanged. You can sense this background as a quiet inner spaciousness, a stillness that is not opposed to movement. This stillness does not say, "I want this moment to be different." It allows this moment to be what it is. From the perspective of the ego, this may sound like passivity. But true acceptance is not dull. It is alive and intelligent. When you stop resisting what is, a deeper clarity appears. You see more clearly what can be done, if anything is needed. Action becomes simpler, more direct, less driven by fear or compulsion. You may have noticed that emotional pain sometimes arises with great intensity. A sudden wave of sadness, a surge of anger, a deep sense of anxiety or loneliness. This is what can be called the accumulated pain of the past. It lives in the body as an energetic field. When triggered by a situation or a thought, it comes alive. It wants to feed. It feeds on drama, on conflict, on resentment, on stories of how wrong everything is. When this pain is activated, the mind quickly joins it. Thoughts appear that match the emotion: blame, self-criticism, hopeless images of the future. If you are completely identified with this movement, it takes you over. You may say things you later regret. You may act out of that pain. But something else is possible. When the pain arises, you can bring awareness to it. You notice the emotion as a felt energy in the body. You feel the burning, the tightness, the heaviness. You do not need to explain it. You do not need to analyze its origin. Instead, you allow it to be there just for now, in the light of awareness. You may say inwardly, "Here is a wave of pain. Let me feel it," without the story. When you do this, there is a shift from "I am this pain" to "there is pain, and I am the awareness in which it is felt." The pain may still be intense, but something in you remains untouched. Something stays present. This simple allowing is a form of surrender. Surrender is not giving up in a negative way. It is the willingness to let this moment be what it is, in inner alignment, rather than in inner resistance. When you surrender to what is, you stop fueling the pain with mental commentary. Without constant feeding, it gradually loses its intensity. You may notice that after some time, the wave passes. A sense of space returns. In that space, there is a subtle joy, not the joy of getting what the ego wanted, a quieter joy, arising from the openness itself. Conscious relationships begin here, in this willingness to be aware. In unconscious relating, both people are identified with their minds and their pain. Each is seeking validation. Each is defending their mental image of themselves. When a small disagreement happens, the pain of the past may be activated. Old wounds are touched. The inner pain wants to express itself. Harsh words may be spoken. Accusations arise. Each person sees the other as the cause of their pain. But if even one person in the relationship becomes more present, something changes. Perhaps you notice. A T in a moment of tension, a rising urge to react, to say something sharp, to prove that you are right. If you are aware of this urge, you have a choice. You can pause, even for a few seconds. You can feel the energy in the body instead of immediately acting it out. You may sense that behind the other person's words and behavior, there is also pain. There is also conditioning. there is also fear. From presence, compassion arises naturally. Compassion does not mean you agree with everything. It does not mean you allow harmful behavior to continue. It means that you see the deeper truth. Under all patterns, there is the same beingness looking out through different forms. When you relate from this place, communication changes. You may still speak clearly and set boundaries when needed, but the inner tone is different. There is less blame, less need to win, more willingness to listen and to wait. Sometimes saying nothing in a heated moment is the most loving thing you can do. Not as a withdrawal, but as a conscious choice to not fuel the drama. In this way, relationships become a powerful arena for awakening. They show you where the ego is still active. They reveal unhealed pain, and they offer endless opportunities to practice presence. Let us return again to the sensation of the inner body. As you sit here, allow attention to sink more deeply into the body. Feel the breathing from within, the rise and fall of the chest, the gentle expansion and contraction. Then sense the whole body as one field of aliveness. The mind may try to label it energy, presence, being. You do not have to decide what it is. Just remain with the direct feeling. Notice that when you rest in the inner body, the mind becomes quieter. Thoughts slow down. They may still appear, but they are less compelling. You are not pushing them away. You are simply more interested in this quiet aliveness than in the stream of thinking. This inner aliveness is always here, even when the mind is busy, even when emotions move strongly. It is like a subtle background that is easy to overlook. By turning attention toward it, you begin to live more from this deeper dimension. From here, life is still life. Situations still unfold. Challenges still arise. But there is a sense of rootedness in something that does not move. You could call it stillness or presence, or simply the awareness that you are. Spiritual awakening is not about becoming perfect. It is not about having only pleasant experiences. Awakening is the recognition of the dimension of being that is already here, beneath all experiences. At first, this recognition may come in brief glimpses, a moment of deep peace for no apparent reason, a quiet sense of okayness in the middle of difficulty, a pause where the mind falls silent and everything feels simple and clear. You may think, that was a special state, I want it back. But what you touched is not a state in time. It is what you are before time. Every state comes and goes, excitement comes and goes, sadness comes and goes, even peace as a feeling comes and goes. What you are discovering is not a passing feeling, but the aware space in which all states arise. As you rest, as that awareness more often, you see that it has always been here. Even in the times when you were completely lost in thought, this awareness was present. It was just not consciously recognized. Now, by bringing gentle attention to it, you are simply recognizing what has always been. There is nothing dramatic about it. It is very ordinary, in a way. It is as simple as noticing, right now, that you are aware of these words. Who or what is aware? You cannot see it. You cannot turn it into an object. Yet you know that awareness is here. It is the most obvious fact. Everything else is known through this awareness. Thought arises in it. Emotion arises in it. Sensations arise in it. The world appears in it. This is the space behind thought. When you rest as this space, thought loses its absolute authority. You do not have to believe every thought. You do not have to obey every mental image of fear or desire. You can listen to practical thoughts when needed. You can plan, remember, learn. But now these functions of the mind are no longer confused with your essence. Your essence is the silent knowing, not the known. You may notice as awareness deepens that the sense of me softens. Instead of a solid me at the center of everything, there is just awareness, open and spacious, in which everything appears. The body appears. The sense of a person with a name and a history appears. Responsibility appears. Relationships appear. All of this is honored and lived, but it is not taken as the absolute truth of who you are. In this recognition, there is great relief. The burden of constantly maintaining an image of yourself begins to fall away. You no longer need to constantly defend a mental picture. You no longer need to always appear a certain way in the eyes of others. You can allow yourself to be as you are, moment to moment, sometimes clear, sometimes confused, sometimes peaceful, sometimes restless. All of it is allowed to move inside the vastness of awareness. When difficulties arise, you can meet them with this openness. Instead of immediately tightening, you pause. You feel the inner body. You notice the breath. You acknowledge, here is a challenging situation. Here are thoughts of fear. Here is a contraction in the chest. By staying present with what is, you keep the doorway to wisdom open. Wisdom is not something the ego produces by thinking harder. It is the natural intelligence of presence, revealing itself when the mind is not dominating everything. Sometimes wisdom moves you to act. Sometimes it moves you to wait. Sometimes it guides you to speak. Sometimes it guides you to remain silent. There is a sense of being carried by life rather than always pushing and struggling. Yet you are fully here. You are not escaping. You are not withdrawing from life. You are simply living from a deeper center. As this deepening continues, even the idea of awakening becomes less important. It is seen as another concept the mind can hold. In reality, there is only this continuous unfolding of presence, this moment, and this moment. Awakening is not somewhere in the future. It is the simple recognition again and again of the aware space you are right now. If the mind says, I am not awakened, you can notice that this too is a thought. It appears in awareness and is known. The awareness that knows the thought does not say, I am awakened or I am not awakened. It simply is. Rest as that. Now allow yourself to once more sense the body from within. Feel the feet on the ground or the contact with whatever supports you. Feel the hands, feel the breath. Let attention move gently between the inner body and the sense of space around the body. Notice that both the inner aliveness and the outer space are known in the same awareness. There is no sharp border in awareness itself. In this recognition, you may sense a quiet unity, not as a belief, but as a simple, wordless feeling that everything appears in the same field of being. You do not have to cling to this insight. You do not have to understand it completely. It is enough to rest here in this simplicity. This moment is complete as it is. Nothing needs to be added to it for it to be whole. Thought may say, but I still have so many problems, so many things to solve. You can acknowledge that yes, there are many practical aspects of life. They will be met when their time comes. Right now, see if you can allow them to be in the background. In the foreground, let there be just this: breathing, sensing, being. Notice the quietness that is here. It is not something you created. It is what remains when you are no longer completely absorbed in thinking. This quietness is your home. You can always return here, not by traveling, but by gently noticing that you are here already. Whenever the mind becomes noisy, whenever the ego is activated, this simple remembrance is available. Pause. Feel the inner body. Notice the breath. Recognize the awareness in which all of this appears. Rest in the space behind thought. There is no need to seek an outcome from this, no need to measure your progress. Awareness is not improved by time. It is timeless. You are that. Allow these words to fade now and let the silence behind them become more apparent. In that silence, nothing is missing.